So, talk tonight is about levels of consciousness and are we alone in the universe? And it won't be about UFOs or any of these things that you might be expecting. It'll be about something a little bit less.
Technical thing.
It's a little bit less less mainstream, I guess, than UFOs. UFOs are too commonly discussed. You can hear about UFOs all you want, but only at the Loft can you hear about what we'll be talking about here, which is, of course, the ancient knowledge of India in the writings called the Vedas, which reveal so many truths about the universe and everything. So then, has anyone heard of the Fermi paradox? Anyone? Okay, so Enrico Fermi was an Italian physicist, Nobel Prize winner, and he was known for having outbursts of insight. Out of the blue, he would have some insight and he would just shout it out. So he was having lunch with three other colleagues one day, and right in the middle of the meeting and discussing the weather or whatever, he burst out, "Where is everybody?" And everyone kind of looked at him. Enrico, what are you talking about? And he explained that he just had the insight of, where is it? Where are all the intelligent species in the universe? Why haven't we heard from them? So his argument goes something like this. We're here on planet. It's the only picture of the Earth they could find with New Zealand on it. Most of the time they sent on the USA. And even here, Australia. So we're here on Earth. And Earth, of course, is one of 8 planets now, after Pluto has been demoted for being too small. No longer a planet. And our solar system is one of 200 billion solar systems in the Milky Way galaxy that we're in. We are there, tiny, insignificant dot somewhere among 200 billion stars. But there are so many galaxies in the universe. In our local group of galaxies which orbit around each other gravitationally, there's 54 galaxies, and our Milky Way galaxy, you can see there in the there we go. But this local group of galaxies is part of the Virgo supercluster, which has 100 other groups of galaxies which are similar to our small local group. So our local group, wherever it is, there in red, is our local group, clustered among so many other groups of 50 galaxies, and so many other superclusters in the universe, 100 million galaxy superclusters in the observable universe, and of course there might be more beyond what we can see with our telescopes. So all of that scale of universe ends up being a septillion stars in the universe, 10 to the 24, or 1 with 24 zeros of stars in the universe. So Fermi's insight is, suppose life was extremely rare, maybe 1 in a million solar systems, you get life. How about 1 in a billion solar systems? Okay, 1 in a billion solar systems get life, you cut off the number here, and this is how much life you should find in the universe. What if in a trillion universes has life? Still, there's a trillion other solar systems that should have life. So life should be absolutely everywhere in the universe. But where is everybody? So to answer this question, scientists have come up with some ideas of what a possible answer could be. What are some solutions to the Fermi paradox? And you can imagine every possible solution, they've come up with it, and let's go through some. One is that life is extremely rare. Life is 1 in 1 septillion. It seems kind of unlikely that life is so rare. The other is that no other life exists in the universe except for ours. which is also kind of absurd. How could our solar system be the only one with life on it? Then there's another one that all other life doesn't have advanced technology, so we can't detect it with our telescopes. Seems kind of unlikely too. Just a matter of time to develop advanced technology. Then there's the theory that intelligent life destroys itself before it has a chance to develop advanced technology. We're like, okay, but sure, maybe 1 in a million destroy themselves, but you still have another million that don't? That seems unlikely. What about intelligent species destroy each other? So, yes, they might not destroy themselves, but then they hunt each other down and destroy each other in a giant kind of nuclear annihilation. Maybe, but some would survive. Surely the winner would survive somehow. And what about life is too far apart when we can't find it? Still, we should take some radio waves from them. We're not listening properly. Meaning, maybe there are radio waves hitting us, but we're not detecting them. But it's fairly easy to detect intelligent transmissions and distinguish them from this random noise. So that doesn't seem realistic either. What about aliens don't use radio for communication? They use something else that we don't know of yet. Radio is just an archaic form of communication that no one else in the universe uses. Well, maybe, but what else could be used for communication? Who knows? What about aliens are too alien to understand? Maybe they communicate in some way that we can't understand. All of these are theories that people have presented and are arguing about as maybe it's this, maybe it's that, speculating. What about, and then the theory of the universe is a dark forest, meaning that there's a book called The Dark Forest, that a science fiction book that goes into this theory and explores it. It means that everyone in the universe is keeping quiet out of fear that there's some big predator out there who's going to kill them as soon as they reveal themselves. So no one's transmitting anything, and humans blindly transmitting radio waves into the universe around us are extremely stupid because some gigantic galaxy predator will come and destroy us very soon, having seen the noise we're making. So that's one theory. The universe is a dark forest where everyone's cowering in fear, except for us, because we don't know better. And then we're in a simulation where there's no other life because all the other galaxies and superclusters and all these things are just dots in the computer simulation. They don't actually exist. And the simulation is only of our planet and our immediate surroundings. So, which of those is it? According to the 5,000-year-old Krishna literature of ancient India, none of the above. It's a completely different reason why we don't seemingly hear from advanced extraterrestrial species. So, would you like to know why, according to the literature, we don't hear? Well, not so simple. Not so simple. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. We need some a little bit more context before we get to that. Who's heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Yes, a few more people. Yes, this is mainstream knowledge. So this is Maslow, a psychologist, came up with a hierarchy of things that need to be satisfied in your life. You can't jump to a higher level of the pyramid without the lower level being satisfied. So, for example, there is physiological needs. Do you have food? Do you have shelter? Do you have clothing? Do you have sufficient sleep? All these things. If you're hungry, tired, homeless, you can't really think about the next level of need. And then the next level is safety. Do you have money? Do you have health? Do you have security? Are you safe generally? And the next level is, do you have relationships? Do you have friends, family? Do you belong to a group where you can feel a sense of belonging? And next level above that is esteem, where you have the respect of your peers. Do you feel like you're accomplishing something? And do you have prestige, status, and self-worth? And then above that is self-actualization, which a little bit undefined in this hierarchy, but basically, are you achieving your full potential as a human being? So Maslow came up with this, which is generally true. If you can't think about achieving your full potential or your status or prestige if you're fighting for your life while hungry. So generally in Western countries, most people are somewhere in the middle here of the hierarchy. And indeed, if we look in the Krishna literature, it explains that the thing holding us back from reaching the top of this hierarchy is that we unnecessarily see lower things in the hierarchy as the all in all. So much money is spent on safety, defense, defending us from terror, all these things. Spend trillions of dollars on the military. So much is spent on trying to secure food, water, shelter, money, that you lose sight of relationships, status, and certainly something beyond, something transcendental. So, Bhagavad Gita, for example, explains, it is selfish desire only, born in contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into anger, which is the all-consuming, greatly devastating enemy of this world. So we'll come back to this in a moment. Hang on, let's restart this. Remote is misbehaving. So this is the all-consuming enemy of this world. Selfish desire, which is born from material mode of passion and transformed into anger. So you want, say, lots of money, lots of safety, lots of guards around you. Selfish desire is taken to the extreme, and you don't get it, you get angry. Why am I not getting what I want? And let me fix my remote because this is annoying. No. Anyway, and this is the all-consuming enemy of the world. This can cause, as we'll see, lots of trouble. If you look into the Krishna literature, the same idea is here. Probably Maslow stole it from the Krishna literature because the idea has been around for 5,000 years. So. Different levels defined as Annamaya, food consciousness, where the living entity is only concerned with what can I eat? Can I find enough to eat? If I can, I'm happy. Then Pranamaya, life consciousness. I'm alive, yes, I'm alive, and no one's coming to kill me. This is freedom destination. I am happy because I am alive. And then Manomaya, mind consciousness, where your mind, is your mind satisfied? Is it feeling respected? Is it feeling engaged? Is it feeling happy? And above that, self-actualization, actually 2 levels, is Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya. So Vijnana means transcendental knowledge, meaning you know that you are not the material body that you're inhabiting. Your consciousness and your body are 2 separate things, and you are fully convinced of this fact and act accordingly. That's Vijnanamaya, that I know that the body I'm in is not me. And finally, Anandamaya, or bliss consciousness, where you you know that you are not the material body, and you have full what's known as Satchitananda, eternity, knowledge, and happiness. So you have full knowledge of everything that you need to know. You have you have eternity. You know that you're an eternal living being made of pure consciousness, and you're completely happy because you know you are in relationship to the Supreme Consciousness. So this is the Krishna version of the same hierarchy. And bad stuff happens if you think if you're at the lower level of this hierarchy, because ultimately you can't be fulfilled. You can't be fully fulfilled unless you're aspiring for higher levels, as humans at least. Animals can be quite happy going, yes, I have enough to eat, I don't care about anything else. Some humans are at that level as well, but generally humans have at least the potential to go higher. So this is the basis for understanding where is everyone. And we'll get into the question of where is everyone after another brief digression, which is, has anyone, get this, Ramon? Has anyone read this book by science fiction author Werner Vinge, A Fire Upon the Deep? Pretty obscure. It's like 1,000 pages. No. Show my geekiness for having read this book sometime in the distant past. So, a central concept of this book, and he probably stole this from the Krishna literature, is concept of zones of thought. So, different regions within the universe have different ability to comprehend, to think in certain ways. So he in the book describes 4 regions: the unthinking depths, where primitive creatures live and don't do anything of any use; the slow zone, where we are, where people are kind of slow and stupid; and the beyond, where there is super advanced technology, UFOs and all that stuff, and people can manipulate matter in amazing ways; and the transcend, where there is godlike beings that can do pretty much anything. And there's some overlap on the edges between these, where they interfere with each other. But generally, no one in the transcend would venture down into the unthinking depths, because what would they do there? So if you look at the Krishna version of this, you have the model of the universe described in the literature, and there's 14 different planetary systems, as they're called, which you can think of more as dimensions or zones of thought, or different levels of sophistication in the universe. Let me see if I can bring this over, because it'll allow me to remember these a bit more. There's Satya Loka, which is the highest subjective level in the universe, which is characterized by everyone there being made out of pure intelligence. Yes, 14, you can count them. Then there's Tapaloka, Janaloka, Maharloka, Swagaloka, Burvaloka, and Burloka, the Earth dimension, where generally there are planets like us, and then there's various lower planets where things get progressively grosser. Not gross in a disgusting way, but gross in the opposite of subtle way. So higher planets are subtle, lower planets or lower dimensions are gross, meaning beings of pure intelligence. How can you even imagine what it means to be made out of pure intelligence? You have no more body. Your body is composed of crystallized intelligence. So that is extremely subtle. It's it's hard to imagine, but it's being of pure intelligence could be right here, and none of our instruments would be able to detect it. Whereas gross, meaning something made out of physical matter without any subtlety to it. So you get advanced technology, robots and things, on lower planets, and you get advanced consciousness or advanced intelligence at the higher levels. So the question is not necessarily why don't we see anything in the lower levels, because that stuff is uninteresting to us, really. But where is everyone from these higher levels of consciousness? Why aren't they visiting us? And just to give you a taste of this knowledge, because when I read this for the first time, I was like, wow, really? This kind of knowledge in these 5,000-year-old books? How did they know? So, just to give you a taste of the knowledge contained in the Krishna literature, just read a few passages explaining this cosmic hierarchy. A purified materialist who has performed many sacrifices, undergone severe penances, and given the majority of their wealth in charity can reach higher planets such as Dhruvaloka, and become still more qualified there. They can penetrate still higher orbits and pass through the navel of the universe to reach the planet Maharloka. Maharloka, this one kind of middle of the higher planets, where sages like Bhrigu Muni live. In Maharloka, one can live even to the time of the partial annihilation of the universe. This annihilation begins when Anantadev, from the lowest portion of the universe, produces a great blazing fire. The heat of this fire reaches even Maharloka, and then the residents of Maharloka travel to Brahmaloka, which exists for twice the duration of Parada time. Parada time being the life of Brahma, the architect of the universe. So Maharloka, all that meaning translated into something that we can kind of understand. Universe collapses in a big crunch where everything in the universe burns up, including these higher dimensions. The higher dimensional beings travel even higher to Satyaloka or Brahmaloka, where they take shelter until the universe big bangs again and expands into another existence. And then they can go back to their original position in Maharloka and go about their business. So oh my God, where do you find this stuff? Where sages like Bhrigu Muni live. So Bhrigu Muni would be one personality in the universe who you might like to invite to your house because he'd be an interesting person to talk to. So Bhrigu Muni, artist's illustration of what he might look like, is the son of Brahma and a great sage. He can travel in space like Durvasa, Narada, and others, and he used to visit all the planets in the universe. Before the Battle of Kurukshetra, he tried to stop the battle. Those of you who have read Bhagavad Gita, you know what what this is referring to. Sometimes he instructed Bahadriva Muni about astronomical evolution, and he is the author of the great Bhrigu Samhita, the great astrological calculation. He explained how air, fire, water, and earth are generated from ether. He explained how air in the stomach works and regulates the intestines. He is a great philosopher. He logically established the eternity of the living entity in the Mahabharata. He is also a great anthropologist, and the theory of evolution was long explained by him. He's a scientific propounder of the 4 divisions and orders of human society known as the Varnashram institution. So those of you who have studied the Krishna literature know about all this kind of stuff that ultimately comes from Bhrigu Muni explaining it. So he is an extremely knowledgeable person who's existed for many trillions of years. And why doesn't he visit? Explains in Srimad Bhagavatam, in those days, 5,000 years ago, inhabitants of the higher planets used to visit the homes of people like Maharaj Yudhisthira, who was a great king at the time. It is only the spiritual culture of the people concerned that makes interplanetary travel possible, even in the present body. So these people can travel to other planets because of their highly developed spiritual culture. And we can't because we're not quite as highly developed. So then, after all that, is there anyone out there? Where is everyone? Why aren't they visiting us? The answer is none of the theories that people might have, but what's the answer? We're boring. And pretty stupid, too. It is simply boring. Someone like Brigham Mooney, who could travel to any planet in the universe, and has lived for trillions of years, seen everything. Why does he want to come here? Is there anything remotely interesting here that he wants to see? This people fighting wars over food and oil. Why does he want to bother? I've seen it a million times before. So can you imagine a UFO landing, looking around? You're there seeing a UFO land in your backyard. UFO alien looks out. It's Brigham Mooney. Looks at you and goes, "No, boring. Bye." We think we're so advanced that species want to visit us, but no, we're so primitive that even though the universe is brimming with life, no one wants to come here. It's too boring. Example: here is murder rates in various countries on the world, and you can see although New Zealand, Germany, Italy, Switzerland, Austria, and Norway are pretty good. Everywhere else in the world, people like to kill each other. Some places more than others, but not a very advanced civilization where people kill each other. Most of Africa, terrible. Most Brazil, terrible. Mexico, terrible. Russia, pretty bad too. Indonesia, terrible. So which advanced alien civilization would want to visit a species that can't even respect other beings in its own species? And then we have climate change. And we're destroying our own planet through greenhouse gas emissions and so many things, destroying all kinds of aspects of the ecosystem. And why? Mainly out of greed, out of need for oil. And you might think, that's just big politicians and greedy corporations, what can I do about it? Well, I think that question for everyone. What's the number one cause of greenhouse gas emissions? Cars, transport, housing, industry? No. Anyone can say? Yeah. Animal agriculture. Depending on how you count, anywhere from 14 to 50% of all greenhouse gas emissions due to animal agriculture. Even 14% is the single biggest source in the world. So what everyone can do is become vegetarian, and practically in one step, global warming will be solved. But people aren't willing to do that. So advanced person from Mahaloka, such as Brigham Mooney, destroying your own habitat, and something as simple as not eating meat can solve it, and you're not doing it as a civilization? Uninteresting. Then we're not destroying our own, not just destroying our own, killing each other and destroying our own habitat, we are also destroying our own bodies. Who has heard of a new drug called Ilacor B? No one? Didn't expect it. Here is a video describing what this drug can do.
And it's called Ilacor B, and right up there at the top. So Ilacor B, I couldn't believe what the research says about it. So Ilacor B has been shown to prevent DNA damage and metastatic cancer spread. It activates defenses against pathogens and pollutants. It helps to prevent lymphoma, boost your liver detox enzymes, and target breast cancer stem cells. It reduces the risk of prostate cancer progression.
There was even one study on smokers where they took one group of smokers and two groups of smokers, and they gave one group like a dose of Ilacor B, and it reduced their DNA damage by like 30% or something ridiculous. And everyone's talking about
30% is a lot. Like
yeah.
Usually when you test therapeutics, you get like 1%, 2% with a bunch of side effects. 30%. So it also protects the brain, protects eyesight, reduces inflammation, helps manage type 2 diabetes, And then they did a randomized controlled trial recently, which is a gold standard of evidence, basically, gold standard of research protocol and design. So they did an RCT, and they found that just 2 to 3 doses of Ilacor B a day in autistic kids improved social interaction, improved abnormal behavior, and verbal communication within a matter of weeks. What?
It's insane.
What? That doesn't happen in research, ever, with therapeutics. It just doesn't. I mean, so that's really nuts. So what the hell is Ilacor B doing?
You guys will never guess.
So, who here would buy some Ilacor B if it was relatively cheaply available? Come on, everyone? Yeah. Any idea what is this miracle drug? No. Spell it backwards. Yes, it's broccoli. Simple broccoli. Better than most any pharmaceutical drug you can take. And yet, who here has eaten broccoli today? That's good. One. Yes. Yeah, Brigham Mooney looks at us and thinks, you have this pharmaceutical industry and all you really need is to eat broccoli. He's like, I'm not going there. Too primitive. So this is basic anamaya. This is food consciousness. We can't even get that right. So even the most intelligent people in the world, people such as don't know any better. So really, we're so primitive that any as a whole, and of course there are exceptions, but as a whole, that any sophisticated species from another planet would no chance of going here. Just to explore this a little bit further, even people know this intellectually, that they should not be destroying the planet, they should not be destroying their own bodies, and should eat more broccoli, they should become vegetarian. They can't do it without some spiritual process. Here's an example of someone showing a clip and offering commentary on Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins being a famous atheist professor of biology in Oxford University, I think.
Now there is one area where Dawkins has confessed to living in contradiction with his own values, and that is surrounding the consumption of animal products. Dawkins is not a vegan, but he has said repeatedly that he thinks vegan is the morally superior choice, to use his words. He says he wants to go vegan, and he wants the rest of the world to go vegan too. Take a listen.
Which leaves me in a very difficult moral position. I mean, I clearly, I think you have a very, very strong point when you say that anybody who eats meat has a very, very strong obligation to think seriously about it. And I don't find any very good defense.
So Dawkins has already been convinced, at least intellectually, that he should go vegan. So Dawkins has gone through the moral arguments, he's reviewed the evidence, he's thought deeply about our existence with animals, and he's concluded that he should go vegan. And yet he still eats animals.
The historical precedent of slavery, I think, is actually rather a good one, because there was a time when it was simply the norm. Everybody did it. Some people did it with gusto and relish. Other people, like Jefferson, did it reluctantly. I would have probably done it reluctantly. I've just gone along with what society does. But I think it's extremely hard. It was hard to defend then, yet everybody did it. And that's the sort of position I find myself in now. And I think what I'd really like to see is people like you having a far greater effect upon, I would call it consciousness raising maybe, and try to swing it round so that it becomes the societal norm not to eat meat.
Now, Richard, I hate to bring it up, but how do you think that this mass consciousness raising is going to occur without individuals like yourself just saying, you know what, I'm going to just do it, I'm going to go vegan? Do you imagine that the whole world at one point is going to be lying in wait, thinking that we all should go vegan, not going vegan yet, but agreeing that we all should do it together, and then just, 1, 2, 3, let's go vegan all in the same month or something? It's not going to happen like that. It's going to happen one individual at a time saying, I'm going to go vegan. And it's actually happening right now. This is the period of mass consciousness raising.
So Dawkins intellectually understands it, but can't do it. And he's quite right when he explains it just seems normal in our society. That then you go along with what everyone else does because everyone else does it without really thinking about it, generally. That's how we operate as humans. But from the point of view of someone such as Brigham Woody, for example, bringing him up again, who is of a much higher consciousness, they think stupid. No, I'm not going there. It's world full of stupid people that can't think for themselves. So Dawkins, seemingly, he has a PhD, he's a professor at one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and yet he can't act on simple knowledge he's learned, and that he fully believes. So he's quite right, there needs to be a global consciousness raising going on. And indeed, we are in the age of this happening. It's happening kind of gradually, but you can see a change happening. More and more people are becoming vegetarian, and that's simply anamaya, that's food consciousness, proper food consciousness, but it's a start, even though it's the lowest level of the period Maslow's hierarchy. But you see, here's a collage of a whole bunch of people who are vegetarian or vegan. You might recognize a few, or might be some people you don't recognize. There's Ellen, there's Mike Tyson, famous boxer who's gone vegetarian. There's Brad Pitt, there's Steve Jobs, founder of Apple Computing. There's Natalie Portman, there's Bill Clinton, of course. There's German model Claudia Schiffer, who's 49 years old in that picture, by the way. There's Albert Einstein, of course, and anyone know who that is? Thor, right. Thor, the Greek god. Chris Hemsworth, the actor that plays Thor. For the latest Marvel movie, he has gone vegan and says, a quote from him is, there's no negatives to eating like this. And yet he's extremely muscular, so the argument you don't get enough protein from a vegan diet, kind of false. So, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and the Krishna version of the same thing. Anamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. So to fully become, understand oneself in bliss consciousness, understanding that we as a civilization are very low in this hierarchy as a whole. Barely on pranamaya, can't even use our minds to understand what's good for us, what's actually truly good for our bodies and minds. Explains why there is no advanced alien species wanting to visit us. We're too boring, we're too stupid. But if we join together into a global community of higher consciousness awakening, then we can become, as a species and as individuals, attractive for people of higher consciousness to visit, because they can relate to us. We can discuss things relating to Anandamaya, things relating to how we are not the material bodies that we inhabit, and things relating to how we can achieve happiness in relationship to other consciousnesses around us, relating to each other not as material bodies of matter, but relating to each other as pure, conscious, spiritual living entities in relation to the supreme consciousness. In that way we can be fully satisfied. And the way to get there, of course, is practice. You can't become like Dawkins. You can't, just by intellectual study, change how you live. it's actually quite hard. And Dawkins finds this. Even though he believes he should become vegetarian, he can't. You need some practice, you need some steps to change your consciousness, to elevate your consciousness up. So the system we practice here is studying the ancient Krishna literature and meditation. This is a picture of japa beads, japa meditation. I think all the practitioners here of Krishna consciousness perform some meditation in the morning in their house. And of course we have kirtan, musical form of meditation, which we'll do in a moment, which also elevates our consciousness, allows us to put into practice what we learn, and makes us so attractive that I'm sure very soon Bhrigu Muni will come for a visit here and be sitting here speaking to you instead of me. So, any questions? Thank you very much.
I've got something to say.
Yeah.
They do count. It's just that our vibration isn't high enough to see.
Yes. So, even if we
raise our vibration
Yeah.
and meditate,
Yeah.
our vibration is very much closer to
Yes, good fine. Because even if Bhrigu Muni were sitting here, you wouldn't be able to see him because he's made of pure intelligence. What does that even mean? How can you see such a person? But if your consciousness is elevated enough, there are stories of great sages going. So do you see like great sage from other planet over there in the corner? And people are like, no. He's like, but he's right there. So you get stuff like that happening.
If they were of such a high consciousness, wouldn't they want to come here to uplift humanity, like some avatars or some great teachers?
Yes, and sometimes some of the great teachers are human forms of these high consciousness individuals. Though there is a degree of, so yes, that goes on, but at the same time there's a degree of, what's the point? you're so, not you, but some people are so degraded that what's the point of even trying to elevate them? Someone who's at the Annamaya platform, where all they care about is getting some food to eat. They're not even concerned of their personal safety. They might be hopelessly addicted to drugs, have cancer throughout their body, be dying but not care, just wanting the next bite of food. Someone like that, unless you solve their immediate physical needs, don't have the consciousness to even contemplate higher needs. So first you need to solve the lower levels of the need hierarchy, and then you can start teaching someone. So if we as a civilization are lost in these lower levels, no point of even trying to elevate someone. Any other questions? Bit of a whirlwind tour of the universe and an unexpected resolution, hopefully, of we're just boring. No one wants to come here. Yes.
So if we can hear more about these people, can that elevate our consciousness?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it even says in Bhagavad Gita that we derive great satisfaction and bliss by always conversing and enlightening each other about these kind of topics. That's developing our Anandamaya platform. Discussion? No? Okay. I look forward to speaking to you over dinner, and now we will go on to some consciousness elevation practice called kirtan. Thank you very much.